Campaign slogans have to be memorable, but not for all the wrong reasons. Accidental innuendo, intentional threats, saucy come-ons, and plain old apathy have all been attempted in pursuit of political power, from presidential candidates to small-town mayors. Here are 10 to remember. Number 10. He does things. What makes Senator A.D. Stevens' campaign slogan so comically memorable isn't just its generic vagueness, which, as one blogger points out, seems to be only half of a sentence, leaving the mind to fill in the blanks. He does things. Terrible things, for example. No, what makes the slogan so funny is that despite how dull and open to mockery it is, it was copied by Saunders Norval just a few years later in his run for mayor of St. Louis. Also, unlike Stevens, the Republican senator, 1903 to 1910, Norval was a Democrat, so whatever thing Stephen did, one assumes Norval wouldn't dream of. Number 9. It is nothing but fair to leave Taft in the chair. William Taft hated campaigning. He much preferred whiling away his time on a golf course, believing the voters disliked him. This slogan pretty much sums up his attitude. In its apathy, it reveals not only his laziness, wanting to be left in the chair, but also his sense of entitlement. Offering nothing to the people, it's all about his right to continued rule over his countrymen. At first glance, it's a bizarre choice of slogan, but the 1912 electoral context explains why someone, either Taft himself or someone on his campaign team, thought this slogan made sense. Taft was the incumbent, having won in 1908 thanks to support from the popular Teddy Roosevelt. This time, however, Roosevelt was running against him, seeking a third term as candidate for the Progressive or Bull Moose Party. So the apathy of Taft's slogan reflected his chances of winning. His doubts were well-founded. Woodrow Wilson won the presidency of the Democrats, with Roosevelt trailing behind him in second place and Taft in third place, with just 23% of the vote. Number 8. He has kept us out of the war. Wilson proved popular and got a second term, thanks in part to this powerful slogan. It was no small thing in his first term to have kept America out of World War I. He was, according to propagandists, in favor of military preparedness and neutrality over armed conflict, having grown up through the Civil War and seen the horrors of battle. Naturally, his Republican opponent, Charles Hughes, was critical, but Wilson won by almost 600,000 votes. His anti-war platform resonated with the electorate. So what makes this slogan unfortunate? Well, within 5 months of re-election, Wilson took America to war, deploying American troops to the faraway battlefields of Europe. Supporters claim Germany left him no choice, but the move advanced his vision of a general association of nations, which he presented to Congress in 1918. Number 7. Make your wet dreams come true. Running for the Democrats in 1928, New York Governor Alfred E. Smith was the first Catholic presidential candidate from one of the two main parties. Needless to say, this gave his opponents, who included the Ku Klux Klan, plenty of ammo to fire. According to them, Smith was a puppet of the Pope in Rome and an enemy of religious freedom in the United States, especially Protestant, i.e., American freedom. They also claimed he would annul all Protestant marriages, making millions of good, honest American children bastards in a one fell swoop. Even more ludicrously, a rumor circulated that the recently completed Holland Tunnel had been conceived as a secret passage between the Vatican and New York City. This, it was claimed, would allow the Pope easy access to America once his minion had been elected. Most damningly of all, though, in addition to his Catholicism, his anti-prohibition, i.e. wet platform, was linked to the Irish stereotype, drunks in the gutters and so on. As New York governor, he already had legalized weak beers on licensed premises in the city and later decriminalized liquor, so voters knew he meant business. In the end, no thanks to this unfortunate slogan, he lost to Klan favorite Herbert Hoover. And yes, back then, it meant what it means today. Number 6. One more heave. British politician Jeremy Thorpe had big ambitions. As an undergraduate at Oxford, he was elected president of the Liberal Club, the Law Society, and the Oxford Union. Even back then, however, there were accusations of ballot rigging. Nevertheless, he was likable on the campaign trail, known for his progressive views and wearing a brown derby hat inspired by New York Governor Alfred Smith. His slogan in 1974, "One More Heave," alludes to collective effort. But as this was his run for Prime Minister, it may also have been seen as a personal mantra, one more heave to secure the top job in Westminster. Unfortunately, however, it also suggests vomiting, given Thorpe's association with the attempted murder of an alleged gay lover named Norman Scott and the actual murder of Scott's pet dog. It takes on a darker subtext. Supposedly, Thorpe, who was open in private about his homosexuality, wanted to silence Scott to remove any obstacles to power. Instead, the scandal ended his career and destroyed his reputation. Number 5. We polked you in 44, we shall pierce you in 52. Ever thought that maybe the electorate likes being pushed around, poked, pierced, lied to incessantly? Well, this slogan is a case in point. From all the way back in 1852, polked refers to James Polk's 1844 presidential election win. As a relatively unknown candidate, the Democrats' victory over Henry Clay was thought unlikely. Hence, when in 1852 the same doubts surrounded Franklin Pierce's lack of name recognition, this slogan linked him to Polk. It worked. The former New Hampshire senator beat his Whig opponent to become the 14th president of the United States. As for the violent language, it wasn't meant as a threat or indeed sexual innuendo. The only people Polk and Pierce poked and pierced in office, at least according to the history books, were the Mexicans in the Mexican War. Number 4. It can't get any worse. In 2010, former circus clown Everardo Oliveira, also known as Tiririca, Grumpy, was elected as a federal deputy for Sao Paulo with an overwhelming 1.3 million votes. He was by far the most popular candidate in an election characterized by irreverence and celebrity candidates. Also elected to official positions in government were World Cup '94 footballers Romario and Babito. Apparently, Brazilians had had enough of career politicians and professional lying. Grumpy's campaign was likably populist, featuring comedic viral YouTube ads. In one he asked, "What does a federal deputy do? Truly, I don't know, but vote for me and I will find out for you." He was serious. Grumpy joined the circus as an impoverished 8-year-old and knew little about national politics. In fact, after his win, newspapers claimed that he couldn't even read or write, forcing him to prove his literacy to keep his seat. In the end, it was he who rejected the establishment. After serving 2 terms following his re-election in 2014, he refused to run again, saying he'd lost respect for politics. According to Grumpy, only 8 of the 513 deputies paid to sit in the lower house of Congress regularly did so. "I am one of those 8, he added sadly. "And I'm a circus clown." Number 3. 2 big arguments. In 2011, Sol Sanchez Mohammed made international news with her slogan and accompanying photo in which she posed topless with a man covering her nipples. Essentially, the platform she was running on, her 2 big arguments, were her breasts. These, she believed, qualified her to serve as mayor of Ciutadella in Menorca. As part of her campaign, she also appeared in a local magazine wearing nothing but lingerie and looking submissive. Needless to say, she had plenty of critics. Rival party Esquerra de Menorca claimed Sanchez Mohammed's campaigning was sexist and exploitative. In the complaints they submitted to the Institute de la Donna, Women's Institute, they argued that it was an affront to the dignity of women and the population in general. The prospective mayoress's response was dismissive, channeling Donald Trump, saying, "No one is more feminist than me. Individuals are free to express themselves however they want, and I use my breasts and body however I want. If the only thing they can do is watch," she added, "that is their problem." Number 2. I'm not a witch, I'm you. Running for the Delaware Senate, Tea Party candidate Christine O'Donnell took the opportunity to address revelations that she dabbled in witchcraft, a big no-no among her right-wing religious voter base.
"I'm not a witch,"
she said in her campaign video before immediately casting doubt on that assertion with the supernatural addendum,
"I'm you."
She had only ever dabbled, she'd never joined a coven, and she'd always been clear about that. And while one of her, quote, first dates with a witch was on a satanic altar, a little blood there and stuff like that, end quote, she was definitely not a witch. The strange video was almost a parody in itself, but that didn't stop Saturday Night Live from satirizing it.
"I'm nothing like you've heard,"
said Christine Wig as O'Donnell.
"I'm you. And just like you, I have to constantly deny that I'm a witch."
In a nod to the backward-looking policies of the right-wing Tea Party, Wig added,
"That's the kind of candidate Delaware hasn't had since 1692.
Number 1. He killed my ma, he killed my pa, but I will vote for him. War criminal Charles Taylor was convicted in 2010 for helping to establish the Revolutionary United Front, the guerrilla army in Sierra Leone known for cutting people's limbs off. Taylor had invaded his own country, Liberia, in 1989 to oust the despot Samuel Doe. The conflict lasted 7 years and claimed an estimated 200,000 civilian lives, many taken by Taylor's child soldiers. In 1997, after a ceasefire, the United States encouraged Taylor to stand in elections as a legitimate route to the presidency. Children were among his greatest supporters, chanting, "He killed my ma, he killed my pa, but I will vote for him." Really though, most of the voters were scared. They were also exhausted and couldn't bear for the war to continue. Another of his slogans, "Better the devil you know," speaks to the perceptions of Taylor. According to John Lee Anderson of The New Yorker, Liberians seemed to see him as a kind of Nosferatu who needed to be placated. He's even thought to have kept a bucket of human blood next to his bed, refreshed every day. He won with 75% of the vote, and sure enough, there was another civil war in which more people were killed. Taylor was finally ousted in 2003.